Depth is very obviously needed for Leeds United after promotion because once you're in the Premier League, you kind of need to improve your players in order to stay there. And that includes boosting key target areas and improving all other areas of your squad just to make sure that there's no particular weak points. And Leeds United have been linked to an incredible defensive midfielder that I am kind of excited about. So, the Whites are targeting a key £20 million move, but the question is, who for? And I will answer that once you've subscribed. It's down here. Thank you very much. Fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. Also, like the video, I guess. But Leeds are making a potential move for Nicolas Raskin, who is a 24-year-old defensive midfielder. Very, very good at what he does, but I'll get into that a little bit later. He's currently playing at Rangers in the Scottish Premier League, and he's playing for more than Rangers because this very year he managed to get himself 2 senior caps for Belgium, and he's had 54 caps at various youth levels because, you know, as you get older, you go from youth team to youth team. But this very recent breakthrough into the first team is not something that will take a lot of people by surprise because a lot of people will hear that Leeds United are after a new player and ask the obvious question, is he good enough? And that is a completely fair question to ask because, yeah, if he isn't a good enough player, then there is a potential chance that Leeds United will struggle and invest in the wrong place. And once you invest in the wrong place, you can't really refund a footballer. So is he good enough? And I have had a bit of a deep dive into him. I'm starting to think, yes, he is a very, very strong player. And I'm not just talking in terms of like the physical attribute of, oh, big, strong man. Oh, that I do not suit doing that pose in the slightest. I'm talking in terms of his pure ability on a football pitch. So, going to bring up his FBref page very, very quickly. This guy, in terms of winning the ball back, has numbers that are unheard of, keeping in mind that he is playing at Rangers, a team that will have a hell of a lot of the ball and therefore not need to do much tackling, not need to do much intercepting, not need to do much blocking or clearing or winning aerials. This guy is in the top 1% of all footballers when it comes to tackles. The top 1%, sorry, of all midfielders. But even then, that's going to be above a hell of a lot of defenders, including mainly centre-backs, because midfield is where you tend to win the ball back nowadays. In terms of interceptions, he's in the top 14%, top 2% of blocks. He's a man that is not afraid to put himself on the line. And in addition to that, he's not just good at sort of the winning the ball back side of a game. He's ridiculously good at dominating the tempo of a game. He will win the ball back and then is able to make that snap decision of, do we ping it forwards? Do we slowly build up from the back, depending on what is happening with the other team? Having someone that is able to do that in that sort of Calvin-esque role is very much something that I feel like we need if we go up, but I'll get into why that is in a couple of minutes' time. Basically, if the question is he good enough, he is a core element of that Rangers side, and that is not a bad Rangers team. They are incredibly competent, ridiculously so. And I feel like as a player, he is someone that would have a pretty damn big contribution to Leeds United. Let's keep in mind as well, like the only reason he's not managed silverware this season is because they came up against Athletic Club in the Europa League, and in, I believe it's the Scottish Cup, they might have reached the final. I can't quite remember. But he's a distinctly good footballer. In terms of conversations on the Rangers end, because you always want to know what the other sort of team is talking about when there's rumours that a player is getting sold, they seem weirdly torn. So they're a team that right now needs to do a bit of a rebuild. So they lost Ryan Kent for nothing. I think they lost Morelos for nothing, or at the very least, very little money. And they're in a position where they've not had a big transfer fee come in quite some time, off the top of my head. Which kind of tells you that they need that now in order to make some big deals coming in. Because if you don't do that, then your team sort of stagnates. They need to do a rebuild at some point, and it feels like he's going to be a fundamental part of them doing that. There is also the conversation around retain him, sell someone else. He can be a key player for us. But at the age of 24, at the level that he's playing at, Belgian international, he is destined for higher than the Scottish Premier League. I think he knows that. I think Rangers know that. I think a lot of other clubs know that. And I think that's something that we need to be paying attention to. They signed him for £1.3 million in January of 2023. And I can see them getting a big, big profit. And the valuations do vary very wildly. A number that I've seen is that it's sort of middle of the road is 20 million. But you've seen SofaScore and Transfermarkt putting out about 6 million euros because he's, in theory, just a Scottish Premier League player that's not won titles. But the numbers that are coming out from various media sources are 15, 20, 25, 30 million pounds. So I've said 20 to be safe on the lower end. But it could be an expensive one. And that leads to the very big question of, should Leeds make the move? And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of leaning towards yes. It could be a very, very important deal. It's the sort of move that you want to make if you want to add some genuine ability and strength to your squad. And there will be a lot of questions around, is it the right move to begin with? So it's not one of our more desperate positions. You look throughout the squad and you think, if Junior Firpo is going to Real Betis, he's going to need replacing. We need a number 9. We will very probably need a number 10. We need a goalkeeper. All sorts of areas around the squad where we at the very least could do with reinforcing. And in theory, you look at central midfield and you think that's not the biggest of problems. But if you look a little bit deeper, adding quality is an absolute must regardless, and especially in that position. Because our ideal first choice midfield probably goes Ampadu to Naka, something along those lines. If you've got injuries at centre-back, Ampadu is going to end up sliding back, and you'll end up losing an option there, as we've seen in the back end of the season, where we've had 2 options in the centre of midfield, Tanaka, Gruev. In theory, we don't have Rothwell anymore, so it becomes increasingly important to make sure that we sign someone for central midfield that is able to add a little bit of depth, a little bit of quality, and make sure that we are as solid as can possibly be. Because if we're not, teams are just going to walk through us. We remember what it was like under Jesse Marsh, where there would be a clear structural issue. We can avoid that with good recruitment because we know that Daniel Farke's tactics are fundamentally sound. They are built on solidity first, and then you build. And if we focus on that solidity, we're going to need a good midfielder. So I do not mind Nicolas Raskin in the slightest. Depending on the fee, I quite like this as a potential move. And as much as people will go, why did we sign him first? We need a left back, we need a striker, we need a 10. True, we do need all of those things. But it doesn't matter the order in which we do them, as long as we get them done fairly sharpish. If I remember right, the transfer window opens on the 1st of June for 10 days. So that is when things are hopefully going to get moving for Leeds United, but we will have to find out. But at the end of the day, that is just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's always massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet. That's also absolutely fantastic. Or become a channel member. I'm recording this sort of late afternoon on the 7th of May, and I'm going to release it on the 8th of May, first thing in the morning. So members are getting a little added benefit. So that's absolutely lovely. Either way, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo. Transfer season is back. Time for the chaos.